gentlemen, boys and girls, good afternoon and welcome to Compose Yourself by James Stephenson. My name is Jim Hendricks, and I will be your guide today as we explore and discover the beautiful instruments of the orchestra. Let's begin by please joining me in welcoming our talented players from the Lake Forest Symphony and our composer and conductor, Maestro James Stephenson. Introducing you to the 4 different families of musicians in the orchestra. On the other side of the stage is the woodwind family. They produce sounds by blowing air either across or into a reed. Let's meet the woodwinds known for their beautiful melodies. Can also play graceful music that you could dance to. Another family of the orchestra is the brass family. A brass player produces a sound by buzzing their lips into the mouthpiece. The brass family is also well known for their kingly fanfares or rollicking hunting calls. family for their jazzy sounds. Let me see if you could all imitate that jazzy cymbal sound. You might want to do it with me. That sounds really good. You know, one unmistakable family of instruments that form a family all their own are the percussion instruments. The percussionists will either shake or strike or scrape something to produce a variety of sound on various instruments. And finally, the largest family in the orchestra is the string family. They produce a sound in two ways. One way, which is called arco, is to draw the bow across the string, creating a vibration that makes sound. The second way for strings to produce a sound is to pluck them, much the same way as you would pluck the strings of a harp. This method is called pizzicato. The smallest member of the string section is the violin. Like the other strings, the violin is made of wood, and it has 4 different strings that it plays on. The bow is also made of wood and is strung with horsehair. String instruments have been around for centuries, and you know, they look pretty much the same today as they did back then. The violin, being the smallest, is also the highest. Well, being the highest, it's very easy to hear, and it often gets to play the tune or the melody. The viola is slightly bigger than the violin, and therefore it can play a little bit lower. Notice the different sound as the viola plays its own special melody. The cello uses an anchor to anchor it to the ground because it's just too large to put under your chin. And that's why all the cellos sit down when they play, right? Yes, it just sounds even lower than the viola, as you'll hear now. And the double bass, which weighs nearly 35 pounds, the granddaddy of all strings, yes, can play the lowest notes of all. You might be wondering what each string player's player's left hand is doing as they move up and down their instruments? Well, what they're doing is they're using their fingers to either shorten or lengthen the string to play higher or lower notes. Let's watch their left hands now as they move up and down the strings and demonstrate how they can play those different types of notes.
Just their left hands. Let's see what happens. Sure. Just their left hands. Ready?
Well, let's watch again one more time and listen carefully as they either use their bows or pluck their strings, you remember arco or pizzicato, to produce these different notes. Keep an eye on your left hands. Unlike the strings, the woodwind family looks very different from one another, and for the most part they all use a different method to produce a sound or vibration. Our flautist, Lion, produces a sound on the flute by blowing air across the hole in his mouthpiece. Much the same as you would blow into the top of an empty bottle of soda. The flute is one of the oldest instruments in the orchestra, and about 5,000 years ago, the Chinese made a flute out of bone. Later, around the time that George Washington was president, it was made out of wood, and today it's either made out of silver or gold.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Were you saying that the flute makes a sound like the way we would blow over maybe an empty bottle?
Oh yeah, sure, that's the way it's produced, by blowing air across the hole in the mouthpiece. That's exactly how it's produced.
This is really amazing, but I actually happen to have an empty bottle.
Oh wow, great.
Do you mind if I test that out?
Sure.
Actually, did anyone else bring bottles today?
Look at that, you all have bottles.
So maybe since we all just happen to have these bottles, we could play a piece for bottle and solo flute. What do you think?
Well, sure, I don't mind as long as you can play in tune. What do you guys think?
Wait a second. Yeah, here we go. What do you think? There we go.
The oboe, which is also made of wood, is played much differently than the flute. And our oboist uses a double reed which consists of two shaped pieces of wood strapped tightly together. When she blows wind over the double reed, it vibrates and it'll sound like this. Wow, all right. Well, now, I'm sure you all recognize that melody, but when Anne places oboe, it creates a much more beautiful sound, and one you might recognize as a snake charmer. The woodwinds are famous for their ability to play a flurry of notes, as demonstrated here by the clarinet. The clarinet has a single reed, which is made from bamboo. The reed is held onto the mouthpiece by a metal band that is called a ligature. When air passes over the reed, it vibrates and produces the enchanting sound of the clarinet. The bassoon, a double reed instrument like the oboe, is the lowest member of the woodwind family. Excuse me. I said it's the lowest member of the woodwind family. Lowest? Thank you very much. All of the woodwinds use all their fingers to play the keys on their instruments. The bassoon is so large, however, that our bassoonist Peter also has to use his thumbs to play on the keys. And some of these keys are used to open the very top hole, which is almost 2 feet away. The bassoon can play very lyrical melodies, or it can bounce around and sound a little silly too. Now let's listen as the rest of the instruments of the woodwind family join in with our bassoon. Now pay close attention to their fingers on the keys and notice how they blow either into their instruments or across the top to produce their sounds. The trumpet is the highest member of the brass family. You know, brass instruments are known for being very loud, and that's why for many years, and still sometimes today, they're used in battles, or they were used for kings and queens during special ceremonies. You know, in the last 100 years or so, brass instruments developed valves which allow them to play very quickly. Sounds higher. Now it uses 4 valves rather than the usual 3. Listen for the higher, brighter sound of the piccolo trumpet. Our trumpeter David says it's so much fun to play, it's almost like a toy. The French horn is a very unique brass instrument in many ways. First of all, its tubing is coiled up, much the same way as you would find on a garden hose. You know, secondly, it's the only brass instrument where the player always keeps their hand inside the bell. They do this for two reasons. First of all, to make a beautiful sound, but also to hold on to their horn. But listen to what happens if the hand is jammed too far up into the bell. The French horn is neither the highest or lowest brass instrument in the brass family, but it often gets to play pretty melodies and sometimes gets to make that special muted sound you just heard. Listen closely, and you might even hear a faint hunting call. Trombone is a very special brass instrument. Now, it does not use bells, but instead it uses a slide to go from one note to another. It can also make a wide variety of funny noises, like the one you just heard. We have the most common, which he just did, the glissando. Well, let's hear that again. Or it can sound like a little lamb. Or perhaps like a very large elephant. Or just plain laughing. Or my personal favorite, the vacuum cleaner. However, the trombone can also play a princely tune, and it sounds like this. Because it is the biggest, it is also the lowest. But our tuba player, Jared, he just told me that he thinks he can play as high as a trumpet. What do you think?
Really? Maybe. As high as a trumpet?
Maybe, yeah.
Well, you want to see what happens? Okay, let's try. Seems to think, though, that he can play as low as Jared can on his tuba. Now, I don't know about that. That seems like a challenge. What do you think? Let's try. And the winner
feature as a, but everybody seems to think that the tuba just plays bass line.
Yeah, that's what it does, basically.
Okay, that's one of the things it does, but in the rarest of circumstances, or even maybe when the composer gets a little too excited, we can play the tune.
No.
We can?
No.
We can, it's possible. Yes.
No.
And actually, I know a tune because you wrote it. So, can I give that a show?
I'm game with Jim's game.
Should we let the tuba play the melody too?
That's kind of underwhelming. I'll take it.
Give me a shot.
I'm going to sit down. It takes a lot of concentration.
Not much before
that produces the sound that comes out of the bell.
that was lovely.
Well, the brass players have a special treat for you now. We mentioned earlier that the French horn looks like a coiled up garden hose. The brass players are now going to play their final selection for you on their hoses.
Those professional grade? Professional instruments? Yeah, it's a bomb. It's a bomb from Home Depot. All right.
We have now reached the fourth family of the orchestra, the percussion family. As we mentioned a while back, there are three different ways of producing a sound on a percussion instrument. Using just a tambourine, our percussionist Debbie will demonstrate those now. Well, that was really great, Debbie. Do you think we could see that again in slow motion as you demonstrate the shake, the strike, the scrape, and use that on every percussion instrument? You know, Debbie, rumor has it you have 20 or so instruments there that you can either shake, strike, or scrape. Is that true?
Yes, 20. Let's have the people count them.
I think it's a great idea. Let's do it.
Okay, which one do you start with? Tambourine? Okay, that's number one. Let's see how many she has. Shoot it. he didn't finish the piece. Who wrote this anyway? Oh, I did. Okay. We have to finish this piece, okay? And so what we need are 3 volunteers to help me finish the piece. Any age volunteer can come up. If there's a rector in the house, I bet you would come up. You want to come up? Come on up. If there's a rector, come on up. You come up. You want to come up? Do you want to come up, sir? Sure. All right. Marie? All right, Marie. Do you know what a conductor does? Conductor does this, right? He stands up here and waves his arms like this. Do you know what a composer does? somebody's playing a wrong note, but we're all professionals here. That's not happening, I assure you. So this is what we call a dissonant harmony. Your help. Do you want to come back up? Yeah, come on, it's fun up here. All right, so we mentioned earlier that to play a percussion instrument, you either shake, scrape, or what was the third one? Strike it. So let me see, I was looking in my house, and I found some rainbow salad twirls, some pasta. Can you hold that for a second? Now, what would happen if you went like this? Oh, we have a shaking instrument. All right, let's see here. Now I've got an ice cream scoop and a Kleenex box cover. What do you think we'd do with that to make a sound? Very good. That's our scraping instrument. All right, and I've got a doggy bowl and a flashlight. What would we do with that? So that's our striking instrument. All right, good. Now let's see. I saw you get up here earlier and you put your arms up. Could you hold that for a second? Perfect. You're hired. Let's make room for the maestro. Would you be more comfortable up there? Sure. All right, so we're going to do our march. Have you ever conducted before? No. No? Nothing to it. Anybody else want to conduct? So you know what to do, just down, up, right? Down, up, down, see? You're hired. That's it. All right, so let's get you've learned a little bit about the orchestra and about the Lake Forest Symphony, what we do about 6 times a year out in Grays Lake. And we play a little number here to finish the show. And thanks again for coming.
Thank you.